Welcome to Moscow, the venue for the start of the 2011 Silkway Rally. Moscow is the perfect home for the rally. The spectacular scenery such as St. Basil's Cathedral and the Spasskaya Tower drawing crowds from across the world. Without the tourists, however, this is one of the most populated cities on Earth and also one of the richest, with an estimated 80 billionaires. The collision of cultures and ambition is what makes Moscow the greatest way on the Silkway Rally. Leaving Moscow, the rally heads southeast to a familiar stop to last year, Lipetsk. Monday's route to Volgograd is the longest day for the competitors at 850 kilometers before it heads along the River Volga to Astrakhan. The bivouac will stay put for the day while competitors play in the dunes before the stages head towards the mountains of Stavropol and Mekup, and the final destination, Sochi. This year we have 180 competitors, and we only had 60 last year. This rise is due to the popularization of this Silkway Rally. It's now the second most popular rally after the Rally of Dakar. We are very proud of this, and we are also very proud of the fact we've managed to create a very interesting rally very, very quickly. We will again finish in Sochi, and we started in the Stadium Luzhniki, which was the center of the 1980 Olympics in Moscow. So it's quite symbolic because we passed from the Games in 1980 to the new venue of the Olympic Games in 2014, taking place, of course, in Sochi. As with every Dakar event, the first chance to see the competition is scrutineering, and favourite Stefan Pederhansel has a new weapon. At the Abu Dhabi Rally, we had made some changes from the Mini that ran on the Dakar, and again we've had a really good step on the centre of gravity and making sure we're as light as possible. The engine is also more powerful, more economical, with more torque, and we've improved the suspension for more traction, more comfort and grip. It really was a pleasure to drive when testing in Morocco, and we hope to continue to improve for the rest of the year. His main challenge is likely to come from Polish driver Krzysztof Holowicz, who is the very latest BMW X3CC at his disposal, but he's not the only one. The race is as much about the terrain as it is about other drivers, so the battle for the podium should be fierce. Look out for Stefan Enra's Touareg, Christian Lavillée in the Nissan Dressura buggy for the first time, and he'll be trying to push very hard at the front of the field. He's in the buggy because Yihong Zhu has taken over his well-used Dressura prototype and will run for the first time in that car. And so to the trucks. And in the backyard of the Kamaz factory, the Blue Army have arrived with 4 large Kamazes, but without their most famous and successful driver. Vladimir Chagin's retirement for the sport has left the door open for a new leader. But will it be Silkway's 2010 winner Eduardo Nikolaev, or perhaps the elder Feodor Khabarov? Perhaps neither. That is the hope of Alex Lebrez, who comes here with a totally new and rather radical-looking Tatra. The man from the Czech Republic ended Kamaz's stage-winning run on the Dakar, but will he win? Gerard Deroy may well be here, but like in 2010, he'll be watching from the sidelines. He's still recovering from injuries 2 years ago on this event, and the Deroy Iveco will be driven by friend Hans Stacey, returning to the race seat for the first time since his Central Europe victory in 2008. Under the watchful eye of St. Basil, whose designer had his eyes removed after designing the fabulous cathedral, the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia and also the head of the organising committee of the Silkway Rally, Alexander Zhukov, visited the stage. From year to year, we have more people who are interested in this event, and we also have more participants. For next year, we hope to have more stages and even run in several neighbouring countries. The Russians love their celebrations, and the heart of the Red Square played host to a massive party. An extensive concert preceded the cars and trucks rumbling in to the screams of the excited crowd. Naturally, it was the local drivers who got the biggest cheers, but plenty of hugs all round for the competitors and challengers as well. Hans Stacey receiving congratulations from Yakubov as the trucks took their loop through the Red Square, over the bridge over the river, and then back to Parc Fermé. From there, the fight begins 311 kilometers south on the battlefield of Kulukikov, where the Russian nation was first established. The route will be familiar to those who ran last year, ending up in Lipetsk. In theory, the Silkway Rally should be a walk in the park for someone as experienced as Stefan Pederhansel. But the 7 times champion is pushing the limits of development in his Mini, and after only 43 kilometers, the car bit back. As soon as we accelerated, the engine stopped. It seems to be an electronical problem. Now there's loads of electronics in this car, and now it seems like we're working again. Once fixed, he was back on his way again, but lost well over an hour. As he came across the line, the Frenchman was 2.5 hours behind, suggesting more issues with the car. So what about the results to stage? And it was a tricky one. The long grass and mud playing havoc with the pace of the early runners. It helped those behind, especially Alexander Shelulov. The Russian took an early advantage, and having passed 10 cars on the road, took a victory of over 3 minutes ahead of the rest of the field. With the demise of the Mini, all eyes switched to the BMW of Christoph Hollowitz. But having to lead was causing the co-driver Jean-Marc Fortin difficulty. By the midpoint of the stage, he was nearly 10 minutes off the fastest. He had to work super hard to get back to second by the end of the stage.
It was heavy stage, very muddy, very slippery. Some part very fast, and for sure a lot of things for navigation. One punch, one time we stopped because there are a lot of grass coming to our cooling system that we must take out everything. That we lose some minutes. For sure, heavy stage. It was, looks like 260, not a lot, but was heavy stage because of the mud.
The G-Force car took the Silk Rally by storm on the early part of 2010, and for Ukrainian Bogdan Novinsky, today was a chance to really show off. He finished ahead of the Wirtz cars in second spot. Boris Gazadin, who runs the G-Force team, ended up 6 minutes off the Ukrainian, but the ex-cross-country champion was still happy to be placed in the top 5, having run so early on in the road. It could have been worse though. He was 22nd at CP2. It could have been a top 5 spot for Baselin Slay had he not been slightly overcautious with his navigation. The Monster Energy backed Opel was running very fast but very slippery on the early part of the stages, and in fact he lost out just and ended up the day in 6th position. He was beaten by Ukrainian Vadim Nezachuk, who started in 46th position on the stage. So for the early runners it was mud and navigation. For the later runners they pushed extremely hard, and some surprise results all the way through the field in the cars. More expected tomorrow. And here is the results of stage 1 then. 3 minutes separate the top 2. Novitsky was in touch in 3rd position, then 10 minutes down to Gazagin, and Nesachuk rounds out the top 5. In the trucks, Eduardo Nikolaev kicked off where he left off in 2010. The winner of the last Silkway was in fine form, without the problems of visibility and a path that had dried a lot from earlier on in the day. The Kamaz driver matched the fastest cars to take the stage by over 2 minutes. It would have been larger had Khabarov not stepped up the pace at the end of the day, meaning a Kamaz Works 1-2. Second on the road was Alice Lopez, and sadly for him, his new shaped Tatra did not give him the feel he wanted on the wet mud, and he lost 10 minutes to the Kamaz. But as it dried, he was able to match the Russian trucks. At the end of the day, 17.5 minutes behind. Consolation, however, was he was best of the non-Kamaz teams. The main challenge to the Kamaz team was coming from the ever spectacular Hans Stacey, or Racy Stacey, as he's known in Holland. The 2007 Dakar winner was less than 30 seconds off the Kamaz in CP1 in his Iveco de Roy truck, but then disaster struck. A rear wheel delaminated and caused various rear axle issues, costing he and co-drivers Peter Williamson and Bernard de Kinderen 50 minutes. He is back on the road, but has plenty of traffic now to contend with. The MAN truck of Franz Echner was another who had early pace for the ex-Wecker Works team, but just 10 kilometers after Stacey's issues, the German was also found looking under his truck. Whatever the problem, it was to drop him 40 minutes, and it wasn't what any driver needed on day one. A slow and steady day for Wolf van Ginkel in the GNF Rally Power team, significantly outpacing teammate and brother Edwin to run just inside the top 10. And as we said earlier, Khabarov found pace late on in the day to chip away at teammate Nikolaev. Here he's passing the Liaz truck, owned by Martin Masek and driven by Yaroslav Valter. Here are the results we've got. 1 minute 46 separates Nikolaev and Khabarov, and we're expecting a surprise third with Arthur Ardovicius in another Kamaz truck in third spot. But the race is still continuing out there, and plenty more action to come. Follow us on silkwayrally.com for all the latest from Russia. But until tomorrow, I'll see you then.